Hey guys, Red Bandit here with Red Bandit Modeling, coming at you with another video. In this video we will be taking a look at my build of Eduard's 148 scope BF-108. Unlike most of my build videos, this one won't show the start of the build, as I started that before I really got into doing YouTube and was put upon the shelf of doom. Now let's take a look at the build. I decided I wanted to do this as a long forgotten project. The reason for this was because my cat had knocked the canopy onto the floor and I had stepped on it. I got the idea for the barn find after watching Kermit Week's videos on his BF-108. Historically, the BF-108 had foldable and removable wings, and to keep the footprint of the diorama down, I hacked off both wings and glued some plastic board to the exposed ends. Once dried, I then cut and sanded the plastic board to the core of the wing. I then used my Dremel tool and reference photos to create the trusses of the ribs. I used the same process for the inner rib, but instead of a truss, I drilled a few lightning holes for the control cables and wiring to pass through, and the wing pivot and attachment points. As I said before, I wanted this to be a long forgotten project, so it needs a reason to be a project. I came up with it being in a really bad ground looping accident where it hit the wingtip on the ground. To achieve the effect, I lightly took the Dremel tool to it to create a warped skin effect. I wasn't too happy with how this came out, and by the end of the build it was mostly covered up. Onto the paint job. I based the paint job off of the one in Kermit Week's videos because I wanted it in a civilian marking. For paint, I used Tamiya Buff with Mission Model Blue. I then opened up one of the cowlings to show off the engine that came in the kit. Also, if you look closely at the canopy, you can see the damage I did to it. The landing gear was simple and straightforward. I built the gear leg and tire assembly, then attached the provided PE brake lines. Now that the aircraft was nearing completion, it was time to focus on the base. I wanted a solid wood base with a nice trim on it. I found this one at Michael's craft store. To stain the wood, I thinned down some Tamiya brown paint and applied it thinly. While that dried, I made a wing cradle to hold the loose wings. It was made using various pieces of balsa wood, and the sling was made using masking tape. I then used the same staining technique I used on the base on the cradle and worked in some dried pigments. Once the stain had dried, I then headed to texture the base. I mixed some fine sand, Elmer's glue, and water, then blotted it on the surface area. While that dried, I took a piece of tissue paper and fixed it to the canopy with thin Elmer's glue. I then painted the earth material various shades of brown and tan, and painted the tarp sea blue. I also added a second tarp to the damaged wing. This was done to prevent further damage of the other wing in the cradle. I weathered the model with some dry pigments and added some to the barn floor for variation. Once done, it was time to build the barn wall. I wanted to make the wall worn and have some gaps in it. I looked at Night Shift's video and saw he used balsa wood. I cut the wood into uneven planks and glued them to two popsicle sticks. This part of the build was the most tedious, but the most rewarding at the same time. To attach the wall to the base, I glued 3 dowel rods to the wall, then drilled out the holes in the base. Note, nothing has been glued down at all yet, and is only placed. Right now I'm still trying to grasp my layout, and I'm trying to make that back wall look more wall-like and less like a fence. The steps for painting the wall were as follows. First, I sprayed the whole thing with Tamiya flat black, then a light gray. On the wall exterior, I dry brushed flat red onto each individual board. The interior was different. I used a new method called wet blending to mix the colors together to give the wood that nice warm look. After hanging up some posters I cut from the catalog, I also put up a prop from the steering kit just as a decoration. I also wanted some tools around, so I added parts from Tamiya's 1/48 scale Flak 88. Thank you for watching, and as always, model on.